Hey Noah, I had a couple of minutes, so I thought I would create a quick video for you just to explain what I meant by all this and just to show you how it works in case you were a bit confused by what I'd written there. So we'll start off with, let's just open the file, my test file anyway. This is not your file, but it has the same sort of structure. So I've got a source and a target object. I've pasted a paragraph of text in each one, translated French to Spanish, machine translated French to Spanish clearly. So what I'm going to do is go through this exercise. So in this exercise, I was going to save this original file as source JSON. Then I was going to save it as target JSON. And then finally, I was also going to save it as another version to actually translate. So I'm going to save 3 copies of this file, and I'll do that first because it's just going to be quicker that way, I think. So I'll take this one and I'll say file, save as, and we'll call this one the source.json. Then I'll save it again, and we'll call it the target.json. And finally I'll save it again, and we'll call it the for translation.json. Okay, so there's my files. Seeing as I'm in this one, I'll start with this one, which is actually the last one in this example here. So I'm going to take this file and I'm going to replace the target with just a blank so that the content is no longer in there. And that's to ensure that when you open the file for translation with your file type, the supertext file type, you will be able to populate the target and have a fully segmented source. So I'm going to copy this, paste this into my text editor, making sure the regex is checked. If you're using Notepad++, you'll do a similar thing to make sure you're using regular expressions in the search replace. I'm going to replace with this back reference and just replace all. So that's going to go through and replace all of those targets for me in my file so that I've only got the source populated and I've got an empty target. So now the file is going to segment correctly for me. So I'm going to save that. That's the first thing. I'll close that. And then what I'm going to do is open the source. Just go and find it again, sorry. Just open it like that for a bit quicker. Source, open. Okay, there's my source. And in the source, what I'm going to do is search and replace this and replace it with nothing. And that's because I just want to get rid of all the source altogether. So I'll just, all the target altogether, sorry. Replace it with absolutely nothing and replace all. And so now I've got my file only with the source object in there, no target. I'll save that, close it, and open. Oh, I shouldn't. Let me just do it from here, it's quicker. Target. Okay, so then I'll do the same with the target, which is this expression. So I'm going to search for the source. Replace with nothing. So now I've only got the target in there, but what I'm also going to do with this one, making sure this is called the target, is I'm going to replace the target object and call it the source object. That will become clear why I'm doing that in a second. It might seem a bit of an odd thing to do, but it will all make sense in a second, I hope. Source, replace all, and save that. So now what I can do is if I come over to Studio and go to my translation memories, I'm going to align documents, align single, but before I do that, sorry, I missed a really obvious thing. Did I actually create the file type? First thing to do is disable your supertext file type just for this part of the exercise. So you do that just by unchecking whichever file type it is in here, just for this exercise, and you can check it again when you're finished. Come down to the JSON file, create the parser rule. So I'm going to specify the rule for extracting. All I want to extract is the source. So $source, click on OK. Let's just browse, make sure that's going to work. So let's take the source, preview it, and that's extracted just the source out of my file, which is good. I want to keep an eye on this one because you can see this is a colon. Probably I'd want to segment that, but I'm not going to for this exercise because otherwise I'd have to create a segmentation rule or manually go through and split them in the actual file itself. So I'm going to rely on the fact that simple full stop will do for me, and I'm not going to worry about anything with the colon in there. You might not have a colon in your file anyway, I don't know. So I'm going to click on OK. Then I'm going to align documents, align single file pair. I'll create a translation memory, and I'm going to go French to Spanish. So I'll call it FR to ES JSON, and I'll finish at that point. So there's my new translation memory. I'll browse for the source file that I've created, which is here, and I'll browse for the target file. So the target file, don't forget this has actually got the source object in it because I'm extracting that because the file type is only picking up the source object. So that way I'll pick up the right one. So although it says target, it's a source object with the target content. So I'll click OK, next, and just finish. That's going to run through and do the alignment for me. As I suspected, I have a slight problem here with that the source did not segment, but the target did. I don't know why that does that, but it did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I want this one. In fact, that's okay. These actually, that's perfect. So this one is going to join to these two. That's fine for my translation memory. So I'm just going to confirm them all. All of that's okay for me. And now I'm just going to update or import into my translation memory. So I'll do a quick import. That drops them all in there. And then what I'll do is I'll close that. I could save the alignment, but if it was a big project, I probably would, but it's not a big project for me, so I'll say no. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to Control-Shift-O, which is create a single document project, and I'm going to pick this for translation JSON that we created to translate it from French to Spanish modern, and click on OK. So that's opened the file up for me, ready to translate, and it's all segmented because I removed the target from that particular file, so it's segmented correctly. And all I do now is I go to my project settings and I will use file-based translation memory, and I'll pick that JSON, and then I get a slight error telling me that it's not available in this project, which makes absolutely no sense, but I can see why. It's because it doesn't think I've got French to Spanish in this project, and you can see I have, but for some reason the single project has created Spanish Mexico. Well, no, it's not Spanish Mexico. I have no idea why it's doing that. Yes, I will come back to that later. Anyway, clearly there's a little bug there somewhere, I think, within Studio. It's a bit odd, but I'll use NETM. Here's the way to get around it when you have a little problem like that. Pick the translation memory. It's going to pick it up anyway, and I'll say, oh, before I do it, I'll go to penalties. I'm going to remove the alignment penalty because I want to get 100% match from all of these, because I'm confident that those actually you're reviewing it, aren't you? So I'll leave it at 99 and say OK. And then what I'll do is I'll just go to my batch tasks and save it and pre-translate the file. I'll show you this because if it was a big file, this is probably what I'd do. Big file, OK. Change that to 99 because maybe go a bit lower just in case, and finish it. Close, reopen the file, and there we go. I now have all of those done. If I'd removed the penalty, they would have been 100%, but doing it like this, it means that I can leave them all in draft at 99%, and they'll change to 100 in my TM when I've corrected them. So maybe you want to work that way, maybe you don't, but that's just something that you could do. So they're all done. It's segmented as you want. You've got all your target translations in there. You go through and you correct them, and when you're happy, you would, if I just pretend I've translated it now, then you could just Shift F12, which is file save target as. I'll make that target underscore. Make sure you change the name or you'll overwrite the file because this is a single file project and that's just the way it works. click on save, and then if I go back to my space here, open up the file I've just saved before, and there is my, if I just, so we can see it all, there's my file translated, and what I've actually done is I've replaced the source with the translation. But that's because I haven't got the super text file type that you're using, which will allow you to actually write it in the right place. So for you, when you do this, you need to make sure you remember to go into your file options before you create the project and recheck the one that you undid. Otherwise it'll pick up the out of the box JSON file type, and it will do exactly what it just did for me. For you with the supertext file type, that Spanish will have been written into the target, which is exactly what you want. So you'll have the French here and the Spanish there. So sorry, I can't show that bit for you because I don't have that file type. There isn't one for Trotter Studio 2022, unfortunately, so I don't have it. But I hope that explains to you how to go through that process. It's not as complicated as it looks, and I'm sure you'll be able to achieve it and do what you need to do.